Speaking of NVIDIA and trade and China, rare earth stocks rallying this morning from the view from China on President Trump's tariffs message. We're going to get to Eunice Yoon, who's in Beijing and can fill us in and sort of what the response has been over there. Eunice.
Thanks, David. Well, after getting a very strong reaction from the U.S., the Chinese are defending their newly expanded rare earth curbs. Today, the Foreign Ministry said the U.S. has continuously introduced a series of restrictions and sanctions against China, which have severely harmed China's interests. China firmly opposes this. So, in other words, from China's perspective, Beijing is merely matching what Washington is already doing. The Chinese have also said that they are going to take countermeasures against President Trump's threat of 100% tariffs. The Commerce Ministry over the weekend said that they pledged to take, quote, corresponding measures. At the same time, the Chinese appear to be trying to mitigate some of the negative response. The ministry had said that those curbs do not equate to a ban. There is speculation, though, as you could imagine, about why the Chinese would make this decision at a time when there are ongoing negotiations between the U.S. and China, and also when President Xi and President Trump are supposed to meet or expected to meet at the end of this month at APEC. One line of thinking has been that the Chinese want to use this as additional pressure in order to get Washington to give them more of what they want, so more an extraction of concessions. And then there's another line of thinking that possibly the conversations are really not going very well and that this is just re-escalation. Guys?
Eunice, tomorrow on the show from Washington, I'll have Ambassador Greer, who's the U.S. trade rep, who I'm very eager to talk to about all of this, ahead of
yes,
those,
please. That's great.
100% tariffs. Yeah, on China, Jameson Greer tomorrow, Money Movers. But I want to ask you just the question we were discussing was leverage that China has here. So as I understand it, they have 70% of the rare earth magnet market, 90% though of finishing or processing. Can you just tell us about that and how important and critical it is for the U.S. defense industry, for instance?
Charlie Kawas.
Well, China definitely dominates the rare earth industry and has a lot of influence in this particular sector. But I think when you're talking about leverage, it kind of goes beyond rare earths, though, of course, that is one important leverage point. From an economic standpoint, I heard you just talking about the trade numbers. You could see how China is trying to move away from its reliance on the United States. The export numbers beat expectations, but also what was interesting is that the direct shipments to the U.S. dropped to 10% of overall China's total exports. So that's on the economic front. And then when you're talking about influence, I think the Chinese have been very good at figuring out what is important to President Trump politically. So the conversation before was about the trade deficit, it was about fentanyl, but now it's kind of moved to rare earths, which he had mentioned was something important, and also to soybeans. The soybean imports here hit a record, and none of them are coming from the United States. And those are issues that are important to President Trump politically back home.
Eunice, of course, the farmers who have the soybean crop here, accustomed to selling a lot of that to China, are wondering exactly what the future holds for them. Eunice Yoon in Beijing for